Today I want to talk about the Blob Brush tool. This is a pretty cool tool when you know how to use it. So it's hiding over here in the paintbrush tool. So right here is the Blob Brush tool. Keyboard shortcut you can see is Shift B. And this is a pretty powerful tool when you are creating artwork in Illustrator. So your bracket keys that are to the right of your letter P on your keyboard act as brush sizes. So this is my closing bracket, this is my opening bracket, this one will go down in size. So that's a great shortcut for the size of the brush that you actually want to use. And if you double click on the tool in your tool panel, it will bring up different options here. And so one of the things in here, let's just say I'm going to uncheck these right now. So I'm not going to keep it selected. I'm not going to merge with any selection. I'll keep the fidelity right about in the middle for now. And we're just going to use a basic round brush. Here is the size, and this is what can be changed by using your bracket tools. You can change your angle, which essentially is this. So if I adjust, there's my roundness. If I rotate it, there's my angle. So you can adjust basically the shape of the brush that you're going to use. But I prefer to keep mine, I'm going to keep it round just in this, for this example, just to see what this is. It can, if you have a stylus too, you can adjust it so that you have pressure sensitive, so you can go bigger and smaller just by pressure. But we'll keep it fixed since I'm using a mouse right now. So basically all the defaults are on here. Nothing is selected. I'm going to click OK. So the really cool thing about the Blob Brush tool is it's a great way to build shapes. So I can start with my any kind of a shape here. Let's just say, I'm gonna go a little bit larger. Let's say I make like a flower. I'm gonna kind of just do like a flower shape, and it's gonna just be a round circle. I'll just kind of go round here. Okay. If I look at, I'm gonna hit V for my selection tool. So if I look at this now, these are all connected. So I'm going to go in my artwork mode right here. You can see that these are not individual circles. They're all one shape now. So if I go back to my Blob Brush tool and I fill this in, it adds into that shape. So let's go back to my artwork. Now you can see it's a completely filled in shape with my object. Pretty cool, hey? So now let me go in here and I'm gonna bring my brush down really small. If I would add a stem into this, now when I select, hit V for my selection tool, and I grab this, this is all one shape. But maybe I don't want my stem to be the same shape, right? Sometimes I want it to be its own shape because I'm going to color it a different color. So I'm going to Command Z and take that shape away. I'm going to double click the Blob Brush tool again. And this time I'm going to say, well, only merge it with a selection. So whatever's currently selected, only merge that. And then I'm going to click OK. So now if I draw this for a stem, go back to my selection tool, you can see that this shape is now separate from this shape because I'm controlling what I want it to be part of. Now the problem with this is, let's create like a little like a pot for this to be in. So if I just kind of go straight across, when I'm doing this straight across, because this is selected, it keeps this as the same shape, which I don't necessarily want in this case. So I'm going to deselect this. And remember, I just hold down the Command key to get my last selection tool, and then I can click off the shape to deselect it. And then when I go back to my Blob Brush tool, and let's create my pot. So as long as I keep like holding down my mouse and dragging as I'm doing this, I'm building upon the shape. But now because I let go, it's not selected. If I go to continue to create the pot for this, now I have two separate shapes because I told it only to merge with whatever was still selected. So if you're going to do this, you might want to say keep selected as well. So if I delete this and I go back into my Blob Brush tool, and now if I kind of draw the rest of that pot in there, it stays selected. So now when I'm kind of coming in here and I'm clicking and letting go, clicking and letting go, now it keeps that all as one shape. And then I could click off to deselect if I wanted something to be a different shape again. So let's say I want to create a little leaf on here. And of course, you can even get into more detail by making, a smaller brush size. I want this to have a pointy edge. And so I just keep going in here. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Go back to that, and I can just click and drag to create a little bit more of a point. So now I've essentially used the Blob Brush tool to create this entire shape. If I do Command Y, you can see which ones are separate shapes. If I want them to be combined, it's easy to do after the fact. I could just select these two objects, go to my Shape Builder tool right here, and when you have that little plus sign, you just click and drag across those objects. Now that is one shape. I could do the same thing with this up here. If I select these two and I click and drag across these, now those become all one shape or one object. So now I have basically 3 different shapes that is creating this object. So Blob Brush tool is really, really pretty cool. You can also start with another object and work into it, right? So if I do that Shift B, let me go a little bit bigger here. Let's say I'm just kind of gonna create basic shape here. Fill that in. So just about anything that you create can be added. And oh, look at that. Oops, there is, one that didn't get added into there. I must have deselected it. So again, really easy just to go to that Shape Builder tool and say, oh, let's put that back in together so it's all as one. So great way to work into different shapes. Again, I could come in here and fine tune. Let's make it a little smaller. It's selected, so I can kind of smooth out some of those bumpy edges by coming in here and just working into that shape. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope you find it handy and apply it to creating some objects in Illustrator.